Today's video is brought to you by Assiniboia Downs Gaming and Event Center. And be sure to tune in to Trust the Profits Live Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern for Monday Night Lights, hosted by Matthew DeSantis.
Salutations and welcome everyone to an emergency episode here on Trust the Profits. My name is Matthew DeSantis. I'm joined by El Hombre, and we had to come here on a late Friday evening to talk about the breaking news that just took place in horse racing, that Churchill Downs will suspend racing after this weekend for the remainder of their spring meet and move all future races that were scheduled starting next weekend to Ellis Park. Of course, Ellis Park is where they were moving to in the next round of racing in Kentucky in July. So it kind of it just accelerated the time that they are going to be racing there. But before we start going back and forth, El Hombre, I just want to officially read the statement from Churchill Downs so we can just all be clear about what they said. And they just said, through the remainder of the spring meet, scheduled to run through July 3rd, live racing at Churchill Downs will be conducted as scheduled this coming weekend. So this coming weekend, Saturday, Sunday, it is going to take place. The remainder of the race meet will be relocated to Ellis Park and Gaming beginning on Saturday, June 10th. Churchill Downs Racetrack has seen an unusual number of horse injuries over the previous months, resulting in 12 equine fatalities. Following a thorough internal review and concurrent investigation conducted by the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission and Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Council, no single factor has been identified as a potential cause, and no discernible pattern has been detected to link the fatalities. Diagnostic tests of the track by experts have not raised concerns, and experts have concluded that the surface is consistent with prior measurements from Churchill Downs in past years. Even though the investigations and expert reports have indicated no surface issues, in an abundance of caution and in alignment with a recommendation from HISA, Churchill Downs Incorporated has elected to relocate the meet in order to conduct a top-to-bottom review of all safety and service protocols and integrity measures in collaboration and in consultation with nationwide experts. So that is the official statement from Churchill Downs. That was a mouthful. El Hombre, what are your thoughts?
Thank you so much for making that clear. I had not heard the facts straight from the data like you just provided, so thank you for that. I have two thoughts initially. Number one, just a real quick, I don't care who you are, what your thoughts are on this situation. Take a step back. Churchill Downs, and you can reference back about, Kentucky Derby week leading up to it when all that was really going down. I said, Churchill Downs, please take a step back. Pause the racing. Because you can't just say shut it down because you're causing people jobs. You're losing jobs. You're losing so many multiples of people that you don't even think about are, affected by shutting something down. You can't do that. It's not logical. But I said, take a step back. Let's pause. They have found a solution here, I think, and it's not great. And I know there's going to be some naysayers and some haters. But I will say, clap, clap, clap. At least something has been done in the name of the 12 horses that have perished in the last 2 to 3 weeks, which is ridiculous. My second thought on it before you go on, I'm sure you've got your points to make too.
Sure.
I've been a horse racing fan for 25 years plus, 30 years almost. I have people at my work, my family, people coming to me, what is going on? Churchill Downs had another death, another 2 deaths, another 12 deaths. People that don't care about horse racing on this topic. This is a big topic, guys. This is a topic that can take the sport down for good. So, is this a knee-jerk reaction from Churchill? Is this whatever you want to call it? Is it a dog and pony show to appease the whoever PETA or whoever you're going to cry about? I don't care. The fact of the matter is something had to be done, and this is progress. This is a starting point. Shut it down, move it to Ellis Park, whatever you're going to do. Move it to Smith Park. I don't care. But something had to be done, and it's been done. So thank you to Churchill Downs and CDI, whoever else is involved, for at least acknowledging that there's a big problem here.
Yeah, I think that it's important to point out this comes on the heels of yesterday's announcement from Churchill that they were also doing some additional changes, including eliminating or pausing track-based incentives such as trainer start bonuses and purse payout
Yeah.
allocations. They're also restricting the number of starts per horse to 4 starts over a rolling 8-week period. And they're also doing they're creating an ineligibility standard based off of poor performance that which were beaten by 12 or more lengths in 5 consecutive starts will be ineligible to race at Churchill Downs. So those are very similar standards to what Santa Anita implemented in 2019 when we
Yes.
had a rash of deaths out there as well. And so, listen, my thought is very similar to you. And this strikes so close to home because I live in Northern Virginia and the local track up the road is Laurel Park. Laurel Park has had to stop racing on multiple occasions. And sometimes just for a week, sometimes for longer when they had to rip up the track and relay the dirt track there. And sometimes it just had to be paused for a week for there to be a thorough review of the investigation. Now, in those instances, it was called upon by the Maryland Horsemen's Association, and oftentimes that they didn't feel the track was safe to train on. There is still speculation that training is going to remain at Churchill Downs, which does speak to the fact that they really do not think the surface is the issue. And what I will say on behalf of Churchill is when you identify and look at these 12 deaths that took place over the last month, there genuinely isn't a similarity between all of them. You had 2 that died of a heart attack afterwards. One was a freak paddock accident. You had some that were injured during training. You had some on the turf course. You had some on the dirt course and different
Yep.
parts of the course. So it wasn't as,
Yep.
when Laurel shut down a couple of years ago, everybody knew the problem was on the home stretch. And so, that was, some of those things. But I still commend them for taking this sort of action and living in the 21st century. And I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Please.
old school people, and there's a lot of people who are, the blue bloods of the sport who don't like the public dictating to them what to do. And I get it on a certain level, but we live in a world where you have to be reactionary and you have to be immediately proactive in these sorts of things. And to your point, when the average person on the street knows about the horse fatalities, you got to do something. And you
Yeah.
got to do something more than saying, "Oh, well, we eliminated some eligibility award, bonuses for trainers." Nobody in the general public
Yeah.
know
They
about
don't
that.
even know that exists. They don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you gotta send a message to the public. Hey, we're really serious about this. We're suspending racing there for a month. We're going to move it to Ellis Park, and we're going to continue going on there to make sure everything is shipshape and that everything is indeed okay, top to bottom. But
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
had to be done.
Yeah, because listen, I'm a gambler by nature. That's what got me involved in the sport early. Over the years, I've gained a love in all aspects of the sport. I love the sport, but the one thing that can take the love away from me is watching animals get hurt on an unnatural basis, and it's tragic. It makes me sick. I remember I've referenced this before in the past when I was like 16, 17 years old. I went to a harness racing track. I saw a horse do a backflip over a freaking fence and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
We left. I couldn't stay. I couldn't enjoy my night. It was like a Friday night after school or something. And
Yeah.
good times with the fellas. And I'm like, I'm out. Like I'm
Yeah.
out. I can't watch that. So, and I know like it's unavoidable. What happened that day in particular, and what happens a lot of times with horse racing is like any kind of racing or any action sport, you're going to have injuries and deaths. It happens. But 12 in 3 weeks or whatever it was, dude, like take a step back. The least they could do, and they're doing it.
Yeah. Agreed.
If you want to play devil's advocate and beat on them for being a dog and pony show, go ahead. But I'm just going to tell you that at least they did something.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
agree.
perspective.
I think you're right. They did something, and I would say, listen, one of the things that I think we as a sport do not do a good enough job about is talking about how much safer the sport has gotten over the last 10 years. That equine fatalities on the track are down discernibly from what they were 10 years ago, and that it is a safer sport than it used to be for a variety of different reasons. Some of those safety measures that I mentioned that Santa Anita put into place have been adopted by their tracks,
They had a
running
huge
on
problem
synthetic.
and they did something and it's gotten better there. Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But what I'll say is this. I grew up outside of Philadelphia. I watched the Philadelphia Evening News every single night as a kid. And the Philly Evening News, and El Hombre, I know you can appreciate this because you grew up outside Detroit. and it was probably pretty similar. The Philly Evening News was murder, rape, murder, stabbing, murder, sports, and weather.
Yes.
And that was the news. And
Yep.
you would have thought, living in the suburbs of, the outer suburbs of Philadelphia, you would have thought Philadelphia was a war zone based upon what the news was telling you. And that is still true today, that if you go on social media and you listen to the biggest stories, you go, oh my God, everybody's being shot by a gun, or all these fatalities. The reality is the trend line is down. There might be spikes here and there, but the trend line is down, but it doesn't feel like it's down. And so what happens? People take action. Politicians take action. Cities take action. That's what you have to do to respond to temporary crises. And horse racing is doing that here, and I applaud them for it, because that's just being a responsible person in the 21st century and in the social media world that we live in.
100% agreed. Yeah, it's like the benefits of Twitter. We can all get on there and have fun, poke fun at each other, retweet and laugh at each other, promote stuff, whatever your intention is on Twitter. But the downside of that is, yes, everything it's in your face, man. Like these 12 deaths, especially because it happened to be on Kentucky Derby week, that was what really brought it big.
Yeah,
it's
seven of them on the week leading up to the Derby.
It was like, what the hell's happening? And then you had Forte scratching, you had three or four of the big Derby horses scratching, and it just became this huge story, and it's escalated from there, and it's not acceptable. So the only commendable thing to do is to at least pause, and that's all I asked for. I wasn't expecting Churchill to shut down, close it up, dump sand all over the track. I don't care. I didn't want that. I wanted to pause, take a step back, take a look, get as many experts, in the industry as you can.
Yep.
Veterinarians, trainers, owners, whatever you're doing, but just get people out there, get an opinion, take a week off or 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you come back with nothing, you come back with nothing, but at least you tried, and this is what they're doing now. So I commend them.
Yeah. And I will say, after my episode of the Whitplace show this past week, where I kind of talked about this in pretty strong terms, I had a number of people reach out to me privately who work in Kentucky horse racing to say, listen, things are happening, but they're happening behind the scenes. People care about this. It is not as if, CDI is not responding. My whole argument, though, is you got to be public about this stuff.
Yeah, they were radio silent.
Transparent.
You and I talked about this. They were radio silent for 2 or 3 weeks, which was really unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was 100 PR people working on how to present themselves.
And I'm sure there were 100. Yeah, and I'm sure there are 100 horse people really caring and devoted to wanting to make this safe. I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt the intentions of the people at Churchill. But
I don't know
from
how
a
they
public
stayed radio
relations
silent.
standpoint,
They stayed silent too long, in my opinion. But at least, all right, we've reached the point where they couldn't now.
Yeah.
So
and I think logistically, it's probably the right decision to just move the meet to Ellis, because they are so close to the end of the meet. So rather than pausing, you can just move it to Ellis, and you're only missing about 10 or 12 race days. Obviously, this does create a lot of logistical issues that we're going to have to see. And Churchill has said it's going to help finance the movement of horses from Churchill to Ellis Park for some of the smaller barns, certainly. But that's a 150-mile plus commute from where they were to where they're going to be racing. So there's a lot of logistics of how do you relocate barns over there? How do you get horses to the track? Jockeys and trainers are, having to make that commute every single day now. I saw, one of the more visible jockeys on Twitter, Ray Luke Gutierrez, kind of joking he's going to get his jockey agent, Jose Santos Jr., to drive him to Ellis Park every day so he doesn't have to. So there's a lot to work through, but I, like you, man, I absolutely commend them, I think, for taking a proactive step. And maybe some people think it's overkill in a dog and pony show, but I think at this point, something had to be done to appease the public and to at least let the public know we're taking this seriously. And you can trust us when we come back in a month and say, indeed, nothing is wrong.
Yep, that's it, man. That's all I asked for in the beginning. I think that's all kind of you were asking for, was like, let's
absolutely
everybody hit the pause button, take a step back. So again, I've been beating on Churchill Downs ever since before the Derby. So I'm actually I am one of the, I guess, the appeased people. I'm good. I'm good with this.
Yeah,
I really am. I mean, I know it's not a cure-all. It doesn't bring back any of the animals who died.
Right.
But hey, At least they didn't stay radio silent and ignore it. So
Yep.
I'm happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this emergency show up. And El Hombre, thank you for joining me on a Friday night. Thank you, all of you, for out there for listening. Feel free to subscribe and like to our channel. Always have a lot of stuff, whether it's about horse racing news like this, handicapping, live betting, the whole gamut of stuff. So appreciate everybody's time, and I hope everybody has a safe and wonderful weekend.